Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to another edition of Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am your host, as always, Paisano. Welcome. Tonight, we're going to talk about Pink Floyd and a pre-Dark Side. I hesitate to use the word classic because it's classic for being somewhat of a disaster. And it's called Ummagumma from 1969. Now, it's a double album. The first album consists of live recordings, which I suspect aren't completely live because you really don't hear any evidence of a crowd until the end of the songs, and it sounds like canned applause, like pre-recorded applause. You never hear a peep from anybody in the crowd unless it's a true soundboard recording, which it may or may not be. But in any case, it the songs, the so-called live songs, significantly better than the original studio ones, especially the song "Saucer Full of Secrets." They do a heck of a job on that one. Definitely better than the one that appeared on "Saucer Full of Secrets," the album. But what they tried to do on the second album was to give half a side of a record to each member to do whatever they wished. So Rick Wright was up first, followed by David Gilmour, then Roger Waters, and finished with Nick Mason. And at least for 1969, it proved that they were a sum of their parts, of their talents, rather than taken individually. It was, according to Wikipedia, it was reviewed favorably at the time, but it has not aged well at all. The group has gone on record saying they are embarrassed by their performances, and I would consider that studio side with each of the four members recording their own thing as completely unnecessary. They should have just done a double live album. And what I found out, and what kind of surprised me, was there was no official live release between this and 1988's Delicate Sound of Thunder, which blew me away. And I thought about it and said, yeah, there's not much live Pink Floyd. Yeah, 1988, Delicate Sound of Thunder. So between 1969 and 1988, there was no live Pink Floyd material. They were heavily bootlegged in that time. A lot of good live bootlegs floating around from the 70s. Dark Side of the Moon tour and Wish You Were Here tour. And, it's a real shame that it got to number 74 in the U.S. charts, number 5 in England. This is a reissue that I bought in the early to mid 80s, probably at Quincy Records in Quincy, Massachusetts, if I had to guess. And it's a double album, and I got to tell you, it might be one of their worst albums, but it's got probably the coolest cover. It's got that picture inside of a picture inside of a picture effect going on. You probably can't see it all that well on here. And on the back they have a picture with probably a couple road managers of all their equipment from that time period, 1969. Let's go over the track listing. On the live side, starts off with Astronomy Domini, which was a Syd Barrett number. Syd Barrett was gone by this point and replaced with David Gilmour on guitar. Astronomy Domini, definitely a show opener of the time. Careful with That Axe, Eugene, early Pink Floyd classic. Side 2, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. It's a Roger Waters classic, early Pink Floyd. And Saucer Full of Secrets, which is written by all four members of the band. Great version of that, as I said before. Studio album. like I said, Rick Wright up first with Sisyphus. 5 parts to Sisyphus. Largely piano-based, keyboards, and not very remarkable. Next up, Roger Waters. Here's where it gets real interesting. Grantchester Meadows, which was performed quite a bit with around this time period, 69, 70. I can't believe they used to open the show with this. It's not really one to get the crowd going. With acoustic guitars, usually David Gilmour and Roger Waters would play acoustic guitars, and Roger Waters would sing this Grantchester Meadows. I never really liked it all that much. And his second contribution, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooving with a pict. Now that's just utterly unnecessary. Unnecessary noise. David Gilmour up next. The Narrow Way. All instrumental. Nick Mason up next. The Grand Vizier's Garden Party. That is 3 parts. The Entrance, the Entertainment, and Exit. It's produced by Norman Smith, who produced quite a bit of the early Pink Floyd material. Already seen the outside of the cover. Inside, various pictures of the band as they appeared in 1969. And this was, I think, originally released on EMI. Well, actually, Harvest. And this came out on Capitol. Capitol EMI? Or just Capitol? I just see Capitol listed on here. Definitely a 80s reissue. But the album's in good shape. It played very well. Wish I could say it was more of an enjoyable listen. The live side was fine, you know. I hesitate to think that it was completely recorded live. In front of an audience, anyways. But I can't find any evidence to support that, just a suspicion. But the crowd noise at the end definitely sounds canned to me. Does not sound authentic. All right, that's all I get to say about Ummagumma. Tune in next week. Please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it quite a bit. What will Paisano dig up next week? Tune in. Find out. Thank you, and good night, YouTube.